You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Well, hi, everybody. I don't know. I got sidetracked and forgot to flip a switch, but I caught it just in time. Well, in the news, well, guess what? The United States has now the 2 fastest computers on Earth. What does that mean? Well, that means they're fast. Now, North Korea, as fast as they were taking down that missile base that Trump negotiated with, well, they've been building some new ones to replace the one they took down. I don't know. It's frustrating with what North Korea does. Weather is starting to change here in Washington State. It looked like it was going to snow this morning. It was cold. My steps were icy. Oh, I hate winter. Anyway, we're going to be on with our great guest here right after this.
Please check out the Night Dreams Talk Radio website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. Also, if you want to keep our show free of advertising, just hit the donate button. Give $1 or $2. Remember, all prior shows are always free to listen to. We at Night Dreams Talk Radio thank you for your support.
Well, Allan, how's everything going for you, my friend?
Going very, very well, Gary. And hello to your audience.
Well, how's the weather where you're at right now this time of year?
It's going to be the coldest night of the year. Now, we had snow early this morning and last night, but tonight it could get down to 15 to 10 degrees. So we're in a cold front, so watch out with the pipes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's something I got to do. I'm glad you just mentioned that. I forgot to wrap my main pipes, and that is really a very expensive mistake if you forget about it.
Yes, it is.
Well, anyway, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do? And by the way, the last time you were on the show, it really rocked with all the listeners, my friend.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Okay, let's see if we can recapture that magic. That was great questions on your part there, Gary. Well, I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I do ghost tours and history tours. These are private tours that I take people along. We walk through the downtown area, and I also write about the paranormal, be it ghosts, UFOs, conspiracy. I am also writing in the process of getting my first fiction book out there. And what else do? When I do get a gig, I also work in films and TV. I'm also a SAG-AFTRA actor. But where I cut my teeth is researching the paranormal and writing about it, and with that, doing lectures. And again, too, when people come into town and they say, we want to do a ghost tour and tell us about La Llorona and tell us about your investigations at X and Y points. Well, I take people on out there and I try to be the shall answer man and answer their questions.
That is interesting. Now, you mentioned you've been in some shows. Can you name any of the TV shows or movies you've been in?
Yes. Well, I tell you what, on the A-grade movies, I'm only seen for a little bit, and I'll have like a line that's, the fire extinguishers are on the wall. In the Z grade, well, I'm able to emote. But on some of the, say, major stuff that people would know about, where I've got speaking lines and I'm in them, and that's going to be the TV series Breaking Bad, the Richard Gere movie, The Flock. What was the Joe Pesci, Helen Mirren film, Love Ranch? These are not going to be movies that are going to be like, A Tale of Two Cities. These are movies that come and go. They're flash in the pan type stuff. But one of these days I shall be in one that's going to be memorable.
Oh yeah. Have you done any sci-fi horror type movies yet? They're always looking for people in those.
Well, I did this Australian movie this past spring. Well, actually, we started last winter and finished up this spring here in New Mexico. We shot it all over. I don't think it's going to be released here in the USA, and it's called Airship, and that's going to be a Mad Max type of film. And yeah, that one, I didn't mention it because, like I told you, it's probably not going to get to the North American market, but that was the best film I've ever been on. The imagination, the story. In other words, the apocalypse happens in 1908, I guess it is, with the Halley's Comet. And with that, technology stops, 1908, 1912 era. And so everything is up to that point. In other words, steam engine, or as people would say, steampunk type of technology. So you have villains and good guys with six-shooters, the beginning of steam engines, horses. It's kind of like Robert Conrad. No, not what was it? Robert Conrad? No, I forget. Well, anyway, the Wild Wild West TV series of the late 1960s, and that type of imagination. And I had more fun on that film than any other film I was able to do. And being that it was an Australian project, a lot of us were able to do our own stunts, and it was being like 8 years old all over again.
Oh, it sounds like it. We're picking up a little static on your end. Is your microphone cable plugged in, or everything solidly connected?
Yeah, it is. Let's see if I get something. How's that?
No, it's still there. Are you using Skype too?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
We're on the landline.
Okay. Well, maybe it's because we're talking about UFOs tonight. Yeah. Some of I've had some producers of horror movies on, some actors, and a couple major stars in the horror movies and stuff like that. I tell you one thing, especially like the indie movies and stuff like that, they can get rather interesting because, they don't have the big budget. But I had this one actor on, they would set him out, oh, here's an old trailer, it's been vacant for like 25 years, out near the desert. And they say, hey, go underneath it. And then, come out, doing whatever he was doing. They never bothered to go. And I said, did they ever check it out before you went under? And he goes, no. And I said, do you realize where you were? Tell me where you were at. Besides the rattlesnakes, I mean, you got all these poisonous, bugs, and you're crawling underneath it.
Yeah, well, when it comes to some indie films, you're taking your life into your own hands. Hey, that's really good. Can we do it one more time? And forget about that rattling over in the bushes on over there if you're out on location. And then with, A-list movies, you're treated like a Maharaja, and you'll get, steak for lunch. But the creativity in those films and the egos on parade, that just kills the set. The best films that I've ever been on, and I think this goes back in 1940s, 1930s, is when you have a small budget type film and you have a director who really knows his stuff, and he gets through the casting director, a good casting director, because there's very few of them that are any good, to get the right type of people to get that chemistry on the film so you can do the improvisation when it's need be, or to stay with the script and to say, okay, this guy, this is what we're going to do, and this is how the character would play on out. This stuff about method acting and going without sleep and being a scratchy type of guy, that's nonsense. I mean, it's acting is acting. Just get on your mark, say your lines, but be believable, and that's the key to a good scene.
Well, one actor I had on too. He was doing a Civil War scene in the desert. And he noticed everybody else, because they were only doing a face shot, probably halfway shot of him, so his legs weren't in it. But all the actors and all the other people, the fill-ins and stuff like that, had boots almost up to their knees because it was rattlesnakes like mad around there. And he was wearing, tennis shoes. And, and I was talking to him about it. And I go, didn't you ever wonder why you only were they had you wear tennis shoes while everybody else was wearing boots? And he thought about that, and he told me like another time they went into a cave, and they had somebody who went in the cave before they did the scene in the cave to make sure there was no snakes or poisonous spiders. And when he got into the cave, guess what? There were some rattlesnakes. So, I mean, some of those low budget films, you got to really watch out, because sometimes I wonder if they, they like getting the reaction, when there's a real snake there and the actor sees it and, freaks out.
Well, yeah, that's, I would imagine that some directors, for gosh, minimal budget will do something, but no. But as far as when it comes to a mistake like that with rattlesnakes or with maybe a live round, that just comes to incompetence and stupidity. When on a lot of movie sets, you'd think that the people there are going to be, well, like Howard Hawks or John Carpenter or somebody who's really knows their stuff, a Frankenheimer. But no, I mean, you get people in there and they've got the deal and they'll do something. But again, too, where is their mind? I was on one film, and I can't say what film it was in because I may get into trouble on this one here. But yeah, we were down there on the border, and it was a joint American-Mexican film. And one of the things about that, I had a bad feeling. And I told the prop master, I want a weapons check. Because this is down by the Rio Grande, and we're going to be doing this shootout scene, etc. And of course, some of the guys didn't like that. Others agreed, and that's well within my right. And I was surprised that nobody else asked for that. And one of the guys, he was, they got him, and he looked like a bandito, and he was from Juarez, and etc. And he had a live round in his weapon there. And of course, well, I didn't go ballistic, but I thought to myself, my gosh, this is this is one of those things where intuition kicks on in. It was that film. There were some good parts of it, but other things you say to yourself, geez Louise, the stupidity. That's how Bruce Lee's son ended up getting killed because of the squib that they put on in and the bullet that was in the barrel. One of the things about film, when it comes to stunts and it comes to other types of things here, there are professionals, but a lot of people, it's, I'm on a film, ego on parade, and that's how come a lot of the film that's out there today, be it TV or movie, really isn't that good as compared to, let's say, you watch things back in the 60s or 50s and say, there was really some magic in that story that I just watched.
Yeah, it's like John Wayne. But, it's what I find interesting nowadays, a lot of the films, they use airsoft guns because they look real. And then they put the sound and the effects of of the gassing and, of the flame coming out of the gun. They all put that in production.
Yeah. They do that with a lot of films that have plastic models, but there's been some films where we're using authentic metal pieces there. And like on that Australian airship film, we were using antique shotguns, 45 caliber pistols, you name it, from, even what was it, the equivalent of a Schofield, fantastic antiques we were using. And of course, with that,